Konnichiwa collectors, this is Chris of Flying Ace Comics. Our goal here at Flying Ace Comics is to find and review merchandise from throughout the geekdom, whether it's from comic books, sci-fi, fantasy, gaming, or anything else from within the multiverse, to find out whether or not it's worthy of adorning your shelves. And this is the second video in my series of Wonder Woman reviews. So to keep the momentum going, this is actually not from the DCEU, but it's just something I've had for a while and I've wanted to review it. And what better time is there than now? So I give you the Imaginext DC Super Friends, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Now, I've actually held on to this for a very long time, because if you remember back to my Star Wars Day videos, when I got the 12-inch Finn figure and the Star Wars vehicles, I also managed to pick this up at my local Bell's department store. It was on sale, I believe, but you know, it's been such a long time ago that I can't really remember. But anyway, immediately you ought to notice that part of Batman is missing off of this packaging, which that is not my fault. That was actually like that when I found it on the shelf. So this packaging has never been complete as long as I've owned it. But anyway, while we're looking at the packaging, this is just the standard Imaginext plain corrugated cardboard packaging. You know, it's got the two figures from this set, and it shows, you know, the Batcave play set, and down here it shows all the other stuff in this particular series. You know, the Batcave, the Bat Ski, I think it is, Clayface, Aquaman, a scuba diving Batman, I think, and the Fortress of Solitude, which, if it can zoom in, which it won't, it never does. But anyway, let's finally open this up and check it out. Okay, now that these are out of the package, these are actually the very first Imaginext figures that I've ever owned. I've actually got more since I bought these, but I'm going to do a review on those later. But yeah, these are my very first two, and so far, you know, I kind of like them. You know, they're different. You know, they kind of remind me of Lego minifigures, but a little bit more detailed. Since this whole series is Wonder Woman based, I'll go ahead and start off with Diana first. Now, she's very stylized in a little kiddie way, kind of like if you remember the Marvel Superhero Show, which I never really watched it, but I remember the toys. Okay, starting off with articulation, her head doesn't really move all that much. Sorry, kind of just a fraction, just a couple of degrees on either side. Okay, her arms, you know, can go 360 on either side. And also, they're on a ball joint, unlike the previous figure, which is kind of odd, you know, but, you know, that an even lower age bracket gets, you know, ball jointed arms, while the other one doesn't. And, you know, there's no waist articulation. Her legs swivel together. You know, they're not separate entities, so be careful because they will try to bend apart. And you can already see right here, you know, I had just taken this out of the package, but there is some paint discoloration right here on her thigh. It actually looks kind of like the plastic or the paint is cut right here. I don't know if that happened in the factory, or if I can get that to zoom well, anyway, this figure already, you know, if you just take a decent look at it, you can already tell the paint apps are not all that fantastic. You know, there's the smudging on her thigh. There's a little bit of chipping right here on her area. And right here on her boot, or right here at I'm sorry, I can't really. There we go. You can see right at the border of her boot, it's actually kind of splotched onto her leg. It's kind of like that on her other leg too, but not all that bad. You know, the paint apps on this are not all that fantastic. Well, these are for, you know, these are for smaller kids, so you know the paint apps probably aren't that big of a deal, and they'll probably get scratched up anyway, depending on how your kid, you know, takes care of them. But anyway, and I just noticed the paint apps on the tiara. Oh, sorry. The paint apps on the tiara aren't that fantastic either, because it looks kind of like her skin tone and the gold paint that they use for the tiara are kind of mixing together. Kind of looks like a weird rash is growing on her tiara, which is kind of odd. But as for the sculpt, you know, it is a nice sculpt. You know, it's very kid friendly, while not, you know, deterring from the fact that she's Wonder Woman. I'll leave it at that. And they did do a decent job on her face as far as the paint apps go. She has very bright blue anime type eyes, you know, which is always good to see on Wonder Woman. Not that I'm complaining about Gal Gadot. You know, love her eyes. And they gave her pink lips, which kind of stands out some. If I could get it to zoom. Sorry, I keep looking over the camera instead of through the camera. So if there are any things that I've missed or blurred out on, I apologize for that. And let's see, you know, at least her bracelets are a solid, you know, not a solid silver, because that'd be ridiculous. I mean, the paint apps of her bracelets are solid. You know, they look like they could be separate, but are in fact just molded and then painted. So that's a plus. And as going back to articulation, which I just can't, you know, there are so many oddities about this figure that I just got distracted very easily. But yeah, her hands can also do a 360. You know, same with the other one. And at the bottom of her boots, of course, you have the plug-in ports in case you want to plug her into the, you know, Batcave or Fortress of Solitude or whatever vehicle or accessory they have. And she does come with, she actually does come with one accessory, which is the Lasso of Hestia, or the Lasso of Truth, whatever you want to call it. And it fits right in there. And she can actually hold on to it with both hands. So it actually does look like she can lasso whoever. You know, if I had a cheetah figure or whoever, you know, it actually looks fairly plausible for her to use. So I like that. Anyway, let's go on to Clark here. Oh, okay, something I just found out. That if she's holding the lasso, that she doesn't really have that good of a balance. See, you find out something new every day if you just experiment. Don't do drugs, kids. But anyway, even putting her on this flat surface down. Oh, okay. If I put the camera down just a little bit, she's able to. It took a little doing. It might be because her legs are a little uneven because they keep trying to bend, but she is able to balance. Not well, but she can. It just takes a little bit of doing on your part. See, in order to reach camera level, I had to use this deck of cards, and it's kind of uneven. So that kind of, see, but as long as you put her on a flat surface, which should be obvious, but I was kind of worried about that because her legs do kind of tend to want to go in different places when you bend her. So there's that. So let me go ahead and put her off to the side right here and go on to our guest, Clark, here. Now, you can tell right off that this version of Superman is based off of the New 52 version. Because, there's no red tights, there's the red belt. And, this was before this was before the proper pre-New 52 Superman was revealed. So this should be based off of the New 52 Superman, which kind of had a mixed reaction to fans. But anyway, he has the same articulation as Diana. Up and down, ball joint, shoulders. Can do 360. There we go. His hands can also do a 360, so, pretty much anything she could do, he could do. Well, or he, you know what I mean. But he cannot do any neck articulation, probably because of his cape. Well, not really sure what to call this part of his cape. The collar? Yeah, let's go with the collar. Although I am kind of surprised that, for this figure, they gave him a cloth cape. It was probably cheaper in the long run for them to do it, but I kind of expected him to have a plastic cape. So, it depends on what kind of figure, what the figure style is, whether or not I enjoy, or rather I prefer a cloth cape to a plastic one. This one, I think, kind of works well. I have a lot of Superman figures, and most of them have plastic capes. But there are a few that have, like the N.J. Croce Superman. He had a cloth cape, and that seemed to work fine for him. But anyway, I just noticed when I was talking about his collar that he does have some pain at problems that, not as noticeable as Diana's, but it does kind of bleed out to his neck just a little bit. Not as badly as her thigh, but it is kind of noticeable. And his hair does have a little bit of paint chipping to it. And there's an unexplained splotch of blue right here, which I know his hair usually does have like a blue tint to it, but that's not really correct for this figure. Anyway, they went very simplistic on this figure, paint app wise, because his belt, only the buckle and the lower abdomen are painted. The rest is pretty much non-existent. Well, actually, I'd have to look at the New 52 Superman again, but I think that might be how he is. Well, they've changed that particular area so much now that it's kind of hard to remember. And come to think of it, this is more of a maroon color, kind of what they're going for with the DCEU, rather than the bright red that usually goes with Superman. But sorry, I've just been noticing he does have some thigh problems or hip problems. That makes it sound odd. Not as bad as Wonder Woman's, but it does kind of look like the paint here is kind of worn, kind of splotchy. I'm not sure if that's... Yeah, okay, that splotch just kind of rubbed off. That was odd. This one is actually kind of more of a scuff in the plastic. There's actually a couple of scuffs in the plastic, actually, but his hips are just like hers. You know, they're tethered together, so they can't go anywhere without each other. Except his seemed to be a little bit stronger, maybe because maybe because she's more of a feminine figure, they made her legs a little bit thinner, and maybe that kind of weakened them. Please don't take that the wrong way. But anyway, yeah, you can see a little bit of paint bleeding from the boots onto his legs, just like his neck, just like her boots. So again, that's a bit of a problem, but not entirely a deal breaker. And back here is just very plain. A few scuffs, but and you see here a little bit of plastic that was not cut off or finished. So, but anyway, Superman has a few less features than Wonder Woman did, and he can, he doesn't have any accessories, so he can just stand as is. Even on an uneven surface, where she, kind of needs a little bit of help. All of a sudden, I had a thought of her trying to catch a man, and that just doesn't sound right at all. It's the 21st century, damn it. Anyway, do I recommend these figures? Yeah, I think I would recommend them, both as a collector and for your kids. I recommend them, but with a precaution. If you're a perfectionist like I am, then you'd probably want to fix these yourself, and they would look good on a shelf. I'd give them that. Oh, and just as a little bit of a comparison, here's the Lego Wonder Woman along with the Imaginext Wonder Woman, and they actually do kind of go well together. But anyway, I just wanted to show that off. Oh, and of course, the pop vinyl Wonder Woman, which kind of getting on an odd display here. And yes, I know there are a few problems with this Wonder Woman, but she's kind of fallen off the shelf a few times. But anyway, I do recommend these figures. If your kid wants to play, with superheroes, then by all means go for it. If you're a collector, I will say that they are worth grabbing, but with an asterisk, because there are some cosmetic problems, which aren't too bad. You can probably fix them on your own. And now that I do, just knocked over the other one. But yeah, her legs are a little bit thinner, I guess, just to make her look a little bit more feminine, and the lack of plastic is probably causing that problem. So just be very careful that you don't pull her legs apart. And of course there are these little cosmetic problems, which again you could probably fix on your own. But yeah, I like what Imaginext has been doing with all these different figures, the Justice League, Power Rangers, etc. And I do plan on getting some more from whatever series of characters I can find. So if you enjoy this video and you find it interesting, be sure to find them wherever you can. And again, I'll put a link in the description so you can take a look for yourself and see if the price is right. Anyway, keep an eye out for my next Wonder Woman video. Click on the notification bell to keep up with our releases. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share on your preferred social media. And visit us here on YouTube. Also, be sure to visit Flying Ace Comics on Twitter and Flying Ace Comics on Instagram. And remember, until next time, in the words of the two great ones, be excellent to each other.